Okay, so we'll take a look at the grip here now on this left hand one. Okay, let's go back to start there. Good. So you can see now in terms of the hand position, the top of the grip there is visible. Yeah. So your left hand would previously move around a bit this way to the left.
Yeah.
And then your right hand now coming underneath a bit too much. Okay, so both thumbs now are visible, as you can see there, both left and right thumb, which means your hands are a bit more open, split that way, as opposed to being a bit more in this position. Okay, and because of this now, your shoulders are kind of leveled off a bit, and this arm was a little bit softer. So this position generally we'd see cause the golf ball to either go to the right because your left hand is too weak, or hit the ground behind the golf ball trying to fix that, hit the ball straighter because you hang back on your right foot. So we see in this case now, we hit the golf ball, your backswing length now is a lot shorter because you can still see your left wrist kind of bowing around the corner. It can't hinge correctly because the way you're holding that golf club. Okay, and then from there now, we're going to try at the golf ball now. You're sort of staying on your back foot when you finish this shot. This leg kind of kicked in, the left leg back. So certainly trying to do things. And again, probably not deliberate. I wouldn't say you're stood there going, I'll tell you what, I've got to try and stop that ball going wrong. Things are just happening. And this is where your golf swing is going to sort of meander down a pathway. We're going to try and make sure we sort of stay on the straight and narrow rather than sort of going down here and getting a long way over this side. And then, okay, I'll fix it now with an extreme thing over here because two extremes don't always make a right very consistently, So this would be kind of your backswing length there, as we can see, okay? So if we go at this right hand one, tell your thumb now is covered more by your right thumb there, so your left thumb is now disappeared. It also puts your shoulders now in a slightly better, if you get the club round here now, slightly more left arm, a little bit more extended, okay? Now, we talked about the swing thought now is that left wrist is just sort of pushing down as you go back, sort of pushing down with that wrist to get the club to kind of hinge up correctly, okay? And we haven't said make the swing longer. Look at the difference in that length of backswing.
Sure.
Suddenly now you're swinging the club a lot further. Now, is that wrist still slightly, we call bowed? A little bit, okay? Which is why we're going to get a bit more of a draw at the moment, which is fine. But from there now, once that club's in that position, we're going to practice that takeaway to the point where it becomes comfortable, and then probably next session going forward, we'll look at moving body onto that left side. I mean, you're still hanging back there a little bit, okay? But that's not going to change really until we see a golf ball curving right to left, okay? As we just say, one thing at a time. I think from a checkpoint point of view, what you should see it set up now with these two knuckles here of your left hand, so index and middle finger roughly, you should be able to see them, okay? There's a little crease there, so if you're looking for sort of this direction, there's a little crease that your thumb and forefinger make. They're both going up towards the kind of the right shoulder there, which is fine. And your left thumb, you basically can't see it, can you? So your right thumb sitting on top of that pad there, giving you what we call generally a more neutral grip, and you're kind of in that category of what is neutral by the textbook is neutral to you. There are golfers I give lessons to who have a grip like you on the left-hand side there, and hit the ball very differently, so therefore we wouldn't change it, okay? What we're trying to do is find what is neutral for you, which based on this is now going to be a more neutral grip for you, and it also gives you the ability to hinge your wrist. So this position here now is a little bit blurry, but your wrist kind of like sort of curving round here, we're not quite getting that hinge, and that's going to be the practice for you, literally standing in this position here, okay, having no rotation, taking the golf club and just hinging it straight over your right shoulder, so it looks something like that, Now to do that, you'd have to be fairly loose, wouldn't you? If you try to do it this way, your shoulders will start shrugging. If your left wrist, what we call bows, it's called bow because like a bow and arrow, okay? The club up there on my shoulder, okay? So getting that club to kind of hinge up over the shoulder like this. And again, you can do this at home just to get that feel all the time, Not bringing your arms in. I think if you're just going to hit something there, you'd maintain an element of extension with your arms, but just hinging the wrist to go back down. Then you blend the two with the body turn and the hinge, and those are the two things that got to go together. So the way we look at a golf swing, whether it's a driver, whether it's an iron, whether it's a wedge or whatever, this here now is the engine that has to move the golf club around you. Your wrist and arms are responsible for the vertical element of the golf swing, i.e. the lifting and the hinge of the golf club, okay? But you couldn't do that with the grip that you had. Now, what would generally happen as you move on to the longer clubs, i.e. the driver, in an attempt to get a longer backswing, if your hands and wrists can't do it, something else has to do it. So what we'd end up seeing, and a lot of times with the people with the driver, they sort of go back with this grip, they go back to their, I can't go very high now, and they'll try and force it by going like this, and then they all get very kind of tucked up, bent and slight. Now they come back in the golf ball, now they're like, wee! and their left foot jumps, like, oh, stop jumping left, and things are going to happen all based around that setup. Okay, so that's the main thing with changing, obviously, setup. You can see your hands now look more on the club together as one unit, as opposed to kind of two separate hands sort of underneath there with the pads and the palm hands. Okay, so that's kind of as a visual checkpoint. This one here is a good one. That's what we're going to try and avoid. Okay, you black out your eye. Okay, so that's what again you can do. Look at it in the mirror to just get a feeling of that. And that's, I think, for me is going to be the key element for you is if you spend one session a week at the driving range, brilliant, that's fine. You get some feedback from the shots. 5 minutes a day if we can with a golf club in your hand, just to get the feel of how that grip feels. Because the more you do that, the more that'll become what you do, and then you can start hinging the wrist. Okay, so a few more shots in with that club then, and we'll see how that goes from there. And if we can do, we might look at the body movement at the start. I think so. Just get that setup and grip and that hinge correct. We'll go through bit by bit as we see fit. Okay, buddy.